You told us that there wasn't really any way for the truckers to get right up close to the buildings because it appears that Mayor Bowser has ordered all the D.C. cops to block all the exit ramps.
Our understanding is actually that Homeland Security has a level of involvement in this. Some of the drivers have gotten out of the trucks to talk to some of the officers there, and all they say is, we just have to block you. That's our orders. We don't know why.
Do you remember that, folks? Right there, that report from our very own Stefan Kleinhens, who was embedded with the People's Convoy for their entire trip across our nation. That report he filed with us here on Real America was back on March 15th. Now, the convoy, of course, sprung up because the D.C. swamp rats attempted to force all Americans to get the experimental COVID vaccine. We know this. And if you recall, the truckers' message was a simple one. They wanted to have their voices heard in our nation's capital and push back against medical tyranny, right? Around February, they began that trek in California, and as they went along their way across the country, thousands and thousands of people came out, supported them, drove with them. They were going to D.C., where they thought they would be allowed to head to our capital to make their presence known, similar to what Canadian truckers did in Ottawa, right? However, they never got to reach their final destination because of government tyrants in D.C. They wouldn't allow it. So guess what? People's Convoy is now suing the local D.C. government for what they did. At least 16 patriots involved in the convoy have teamed up to sue. Part of the court filing reads, the blockades were not the result of construction, auto accidents, or even scheduled road closures. D.C.'s Metropolitan Police Department formed the blockades for the sole purpose of preventing American citizens from entering our nation's capital to exercise their constitutionally protected right to free speech. Of course, such action under Colorado state of law violates plaintiffs' First Amendment rights. But even worse, MPD's actions directly and approximately killed 2 people. Whoa. And their motor vehicle crashed into the blockades. The 2 victims were trapped inside their vehicle and spent their last moments burning to death. Wow. Constitutional attorney Mike Yoder is the lawyer who filed the suit for the People's Convoy folks. He joins me now. Welcome back to the program, Mike. So we had the embedded reporter. We were actually with him talking back and forth while he was in a truck, and they tried to get an off-ramp, and the cops were there. Nope, stop. Truckers got out right on the side of the road. You can't come. And we heard him give these BS excuses. No, you can't come. There's road construction. Or no, we're closing the ramp down for this or that. Seems like it was all lies.
Well, the fundamental right to not only interstate travel is unequivocal, but you also have a fundamental right to free speech. You have a fundamental right to equal protection of the law and a fundamental right to due process of law, none of which were afforded to my clients in this instance. And the lawsuit isn't necessarily about what it is that the truckers wanted to say. It's about the fact that we cannot allow a government or an incumbent administration to dictate whether people have the ability to engage in fundamental rights. The First Amendment is designed to protect the minority view. Otherwise, you wouldn't need it. So when you start to chill speech based on the viewpoint and whether they align with whoever is sitting in the Oval Office, that's a very dangerous risk that we're seeing. And yes, it is. Obviously, there's a lot of assaults on free speech right now.
You know it, Mike. I know you've been busy filing suits left and right from all kinds of cases throughout this country concerning everything from medical freedom of choice to free speech, free religion, you name it. Because it seems like, and I'll bet your business has picked up in the last 14 months, probably tenfold. Now, I wonder why that would be. Because we got a regime in Washington, D.C.
Well, the most difficult part of what I'm facing right now is seeing so few other attorneys step up and litigate. I've been working with lawyers from all across the country, and I'm not to say that there aren't other lawyers doing this, but their preservation of either image or business practices, things of that nature, seem to take precedent over doing what's right. And right now, the rights that we still have them. But once they're gone, they don't come back.
That's right.
The whole notion that we're facing as a country is that the assault on our Constitution is unprecedented. It flies flagrantly in the face of what our founding fathers intended this country to be. And if we don't fight now, there's nothing left to fight for once we fall. People don't think that things can happen here. It's just like you put your seatbelt on in the car. You don't do so because you expect to get in an accident. Well, people look at countries like Cuba, Soviet Russia. You look at the Mao, dynasty. Like, those things happen, and none of them expected it. And that's not what I want to have happen here.
Mike, I agree with you wholeheartedly. We are on this precipice. This nation is facing Do we stay with the country we know and love and the God-given rights that are protected in the Constitution, or do we allow this socialist and communist, yes, agenda to take over? Because that's where we're at, folks. Don't kid yourselves. This isn't the 50s or 60s where, you know, when communism was creeping in, we stamped it down. It's mainstream now. The media is fine with it. These lawmakers are fine with it on the left, many of them. And so this is the breaking point. This is the turning point. If we don't steer this ship back to where we're supposed to be, Mike, how can folks help you and the truckers win this fight?
The biggest thing is just staying informed. I mean, I'm doing constitutional courses where I do a 4-week course for only $100 that I just educate people on their rights, because frankly, your rights are useless if you don't know them or how to assert them. I try to do workshops showing people with EEOC discrimination cases what they can do if they face adverse employment action at work, where they're fired, treated differently because they're vaccinated, unvaccinated, forced to test, they have a disability. I show people how to start their own businesses so you can get out of situations where you feel trapped because you need to have that source of income. You know, a lot of people want to do things, they want to get involved, they want to change, they want to take control of their life, but a lot of them just don't know what they don't know, and they need that first initial step. So obviously that's mainly what I'm trying to do in addition to the litigation. And on my website, Yoder ESQ, so YODERESQ.com, there's a lot of resources, as well as on Instagram, which is Yoder_ESQ. I'm going to be live streaming later today as well. So I just want people to know that you're not alone, that you do have your rights, and the Constitution doesn't need to be rewritten. It needs to be reread, and more importantly, it needs to be enforced, and that's exactly what I'm doing.
Boom. Mike Yoder, constitutional attorney. Thank you for what you're doing out there, fighting for all of us. Take care.
Thanks, Dan.
Yep.